morning, Heather from Finer Details. We're here this morning with Rosemary Watkins, who is a psychotherapist, and she's going to be answering a couple of queries that we get throughout our day-to-day with clients in organising and decluttering. So thank you for your time this morning, Rosemary.
You're very welcome, Heather.
One of the questions that we often come across is, what's the difference between a hoarder and someone who has clutter?
Yes, a very important question actually, because oftentimes those terms are used interchangeably, but there is quite a distinction. Many people would fall into the category of clutter and having clutter in their home, and often it's to do with the busyness of life and time poor in attending to them, and also but the impact on families obviously and couples can be quite significant. But hoarding is quite a distinct and separate. It's actually an illness, and it can even fit into that obsessive compulsive disorder illness. There's some new definition now of it in the DSM-5, and I might get a copy of that to you for your information at some point.
That'd be great, thank you. And advice for people who want to help a loved one who has clutter, what would you say on that?
Yes, I think the impact for, as I said, on the couple or a family can be quite significant when someone is cluttering. Like, to one, it's something that's really important and can't be touched, and to another, it's just a pile of rubbish. And then lots of places in the home can become magnets for that clutter. Like, kids can come home and drop the bags in the hallway. Playrooms, toy rooms can become really disorganized, but bench tops and any horizontal surface pretty well can become pretty full with stuff. And for the family members that don't like that and like to have a more organized space, it can be quite distressing, and it certainly can lead to conflicts between them. So the ones that want to help the family member who does clutter, again, keeping it distinct from a hoarding disorder, because that would need more of a medical referral
Yes.
and specialist intervention and help. But if it's clutter, then definitely the ways they can go about it is first not to nag, using that word loosely, but to be more encouraging and supportive of them where possible. So things like inviting that person to see the impact on the fullness of the family life or the couple's life, and the impact it's having on that person. So they can speak from that perspective, like, this is really having an impact on me, and what I'd like around it is, and bringing that person on board with them, rather than moving into the critical way of confronting it, can be very useful. And then if it's not changing, they can put some strategies in place to assist, or even small things like putting some boxes or places where they can put things that the person that likes cluttering knows all my papers are in there, all my receipts are in there,
Yep.
and that person can tidy it up for themselves into that specific box. Something like that could be helpful. Is that the sort of thing you're wondering about, or is it more the emotional side of
Well,
support?
also too, like if a family member from outside of the home wants to help, say, someone that they feel doesn't have the same skill set, or that their space isn't how maybe they would have the space.
Yes, of course, yes, and certainly very many differences exist in families around aspects like that. Excuse me a moment, I just clear my throat.
That's okay.
So the family member that wants to help and sees it as a different viewing, a different way, I guess on one level they might not have a great say because they're not living with the person, and it's really up to someone how they live their life and what they're comfortable with. At the same time, if the person that is in that space with the clutter is willing to have some support or input, but just feeling overwhelmed, really exhausted by it, because that can often happen too, that the person doesn't really like it. They feel they've got to a point where they can't actually tackle it, and that can be become quite overwhelming. And they might say to family members, "I'd love to get this sorted, but don't know how." And so then family members are brought into it, and ways they can support them then is to talk through how they'd like that, maybe looking at some professional assistance to help them with that process, because sometimes having that person to walk the road with them as they do it and guide can be really helpful. And I certainly have used services like that myself in the past, particularly with my home office. It can be a place where it's really lovely to have that person just walking alongside as you do it.
Someone a bit more impartial.
Yeah, someone a bit more impartial, absolutely. Because family members can run into a bit of conflict disagreements as they go about trying to support each other, or even well-intentioned, but not. It might not be what the person wants to release at that point, even if they are feeling overwhelmed. So I think being open, being respectful, maintaining good communication, good messages, and then being willing to maybe step back and allow the person who has the clutter to seek the help that they need or support they need with it.
Great, that's great advice. Is it true the way you perceive your clutter is the way you perceive yourself and your relationships?
That's a pretty big one and a deep one. I guess certainly we've come into an era, and a lot of baby boomers particularly have a lot of attachment to stuff, and that comes out on the back of a lot of poverty, or a lot of not having, or a lot of needing to save for the rainy day, or don't throw away something because you might need it again. So if they've come up with that attitude in their own home as children, then they'll often still hold on a lot to things today, and it's really hard. Or they've come to a place too where there's often a fear of being poor again, and so identity and attachment to stuff, it does reflect something of an emotional burden or something going on inside that's about connection to that stuff. So the stuff isn't just about stuff, and it's not so easy to discard it, because it becomes a part of themselves almost, and almost something that helps them feel like they've succeeded for some people.
Right,
the more stuff they have around them. And as I said, often underneath that is that fear of going back to a time when they didn't have very much around them. And then the other side of that coin, their children, for example, are more in the consumerism sort of point of view. So they get lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And many of them have an income, without an income even, can have lots of stuff around them that their parents would not have even dreamed of, or to 20 years of collecting the clutter.
Yeah.
That aspect of it. So is that
yes,
the track you're looking for?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
for
there's
that.
definitely an identity connection there.